Hey, not bad. How are you?
Hi there, it's me, Zach Seward. You're watching CoinDesk TV. It's also called The Hash on this part of the day. So we're here to hash out the latest in crypto news and culture. We got me, we got Christy Harkin, we got Jen Sanasi. We are the Three Box. We are ready to rock. Jen's going to lead us off with a story that starts the show. Jen, take it away.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the metaverse at the top of this show. And I was thinking we have a sports desk graphic. I think we need a metaverse minute on this show where our YouTube commenters can mint NFTs and dictate what stories we cover. And so this is my formal request to Control to make that happen.
Metaverse Minute, that's a nice brand right there. I like that. Metaverse Minute, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Thank you, Zach. All right.
No
So HSBC, they've partnered with the Sandbox to engage with sports, esports, and gaming fans on the metaverse. They say that this marks the first global bank to enter the Sandbox metaverse. You'll remember last month we spoke about JP Morgan. They said they were the first bank to enter the metaverse when they bought a plot in Decentraland. So Christy, I have a question for you. Do banks have a place in the metaverse?
Everybody has a place in the metaverse. I mean, really. What I think is pretty awesome is the fact that HSBC has recognized where personally I think the market is in sports, in the esports gaming kind of realm. I mean, who wants to bank in the metaverse? Nobody. Personally, I don't really understand the whole clothing and makeup in the metaverse. I mean, I don't understand. The things where I can't actually interact, but gaming, that makes sense to me. In fact, when I was in London for a Bitcoin dev conference last week, I got to play like a Mario Kart version where I got to earn Bitcoin and playing Mario Kart, cool. Which was fun. And I think that it's really smart of them to pick up on something that people are going to want to play and try out. And if they're, promoting it, that's good for their brand.
I have to say, Christy, I just want to add, Christy, if you won that race, I think you would want to be wearing your flyest Metaverse fit.
Well, I want 49 cents worth of Bitcoin, which, is going to moon one day.
There you go.
I was going to say, I think the digital flex, right? Hey, I'm wearing this cool thing that I might wear in the real world, or, I might not be able to wear it in the real world, but I can in the metaverse. I get that. But I'm with Christy. I don't get the banks thing. Like, what is the point of a bank in the metaverse? You just hang out, you hang out with your metaverse teller. All right, I know it's not like that. I know it's about sort of brand affinity and experiences that banks can't otherwise do in the real world. So, hey, props to them. But I think the story here to me is just that this JP Morgan thing and Decentraland was sort of like the catalytic moment for institutional metaverse. I don't know what we want to call it, corporate metaverse or something like that, right? Where, JP Morgan goes in. We saw this insurance firm do something recently. A bit before that, we saw a consulting firm enter the sandbox. So it's interesting to see this kind of opening the floodgates of big established brands thinking about what maybe kind of sort of how stuff in the metaverse can be cool for a bank. So curious to see what comes of it. But yeah, it does strike me as kind of odd. Like, why? I don't know. Jen, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I also think why. I know last time we talked about metaverses on the show. I think Will asked me, do banks have a place in the metaverse? And I said, yes, like everyone has a place in the metaverse, just like you did, Christy. But it just seems odd to me. I'm curious to see how the audience will react. There are probably going to be these bank branded areas in the metaverse, just like we have the Scotiabank Theatre here in Toronto. And if there's a cool experience there, maybe people will go, or maybe we'll be like, nah, the bank is so lame. And there are other cool experiences here by brands I'm just learning about, or by brands who I enjoy to interact with in real life. So I'm curious to see how people respond to it. Christy, I don't know if you had your hand up, but I see it.
Yeah, I did actually. Because, here's the thing. Think about FTX, for example, sponsoring a sports arena. I don't see it as any different. It's just it's sponsoring a sports and esports and gaming arena in the metaverse, and they're slapping their logo on it and having that associated cool factor. People are going to go play the games, and they're going to do it at HSBC Metaverse Park or whatever they call it. So I don't really see the difference. It's kind of a real world application of branding in the metaverse, and sticking your name on something that people are going to go to have some fun. So
yeah, I think that's actually smart. This, the naming rights, right? Like it's a ballpark. Yeah. It's a ballpark. It has nothing to do with banking, but hey, it's HSBC ballpark, and they host the team that you really love. So smart. Yep. I like that.
Exactly. So I guess I'll see what happens there. But in other, traditional player news, Mark Zuckerberg was at South by Southwest recently, and he said that NFTs are coming to Instagram hopefully soon. So I think we got some news in January or a few months ago, I'll just say a few months ago to cover my butt here, that Instagram was looking into NFT profile pics similar to Twitter. But now Zuckerberg is saying that you are going to be able to mint NFTs on Instagram. He didn't share any more details, but I thought that was pretty cool for mainstream adoption. I guess my initial thought is, will they be NFTs as we traditionally know them, or will it be some kind of modified experience for the Instagram audience? I don't know if either of you, Zach, I'm throwing it to you. What if you have any thoughts on Mark's announcement?
Yeah, it was just so inevitable, right? Like you saw this momentum around NFTs, and it was inevitable that Instagram was going to have its NFT strategy. And I think we're sort of hearing some details come to light. This had been, I guess, rumored with some like screenshots of like some developer environment that came out, I think, last month or a couple months ago. But it does feel like the inevitability of NFTs is here, right? Everyone's going to have an NFT strategy. And I think for a company like Instagram to roll that out in a way could be novel and interesting, right? TikTok, I think, was maybe exploring with this at one point. It seems as though the ability to, again, have something that you provably own according to a hash on a blockchain, to have that exist in your favored social media platform seems like something that is happening, despite some of the mainstream backlash, right? You saw Twitter do this with its Twitter Blue products, and, the curse of the hexagon was everywhere everywhere, left, right, and center when it came to the Twitter discourse for that 12-hour window. So you see that, but I think that, people within these Silicon Valley giants, they see their friends and colleagues sort of exploring this Web3 stuff, and they're trying to find a way to make Web 2.5 work for their particular companies. So to me, that's what this says, but hey, who knows? Krista, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that a lot of any platform at this point that caters to the creator is going to have to at least consider some sort of NFT play, because that's where the action is. I mean, Adobe putting it into their platforms where you can just automatically turn what you're creating on Adobe into an NFT, it just makes sense. People don't have to use it, but having the option there, I think, is just going to become a standard thing that more and more companies are going to pick up on as an option for their users. Because being able to seamlessly work your product into some sort of Web3 play just makes sense, I think, in the coming years, especially.
Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens with Web 2.5 and Instagram. Christy, you have the next story.
All right. Yeah. So this is now, still staying sort of in the Web3 with the Ethereum Testnet. We all know, I think, at this point that Ethereum is about to shift into proof of stake from proof of work. They've been running their beacon chain for a while now, and everything is getting set for the merge. So earlier this week, Ethereum merged on the Kiln testnet ahead of the blockchain's eventual move to proof of stake in the network. So what's happened is they are now actually validating blocks that have actual transactions in them, post-merge blocks, which is pretty cool, because previously, or at least on the layer right now, on the beacon chain layer at the moment, the validation blocks are not really, they're containing some data, but no real transactions. This is now happening on Kiln, and it actually went really, really well. There was one node, I think, that wasn't working, and they were looking into why, but that's the point of a testnet, is to see exactly what's going to happen, whether it's going to work, if there are any glitches, because if you're going to transfer this, bajillion-dollar platform from one protocol, one consensus mechanism to another, you better get it right. And so far, things seem to be going well, which means hopefully that this merge to proof of stake for Ethereum that has long been in the works could actually happen on the current schedule for June, or sometime late spring, early summer. So that is going to be kind of cool if that all actually works out. Jen, any thoughts?
Yeah, I was reading this and I was like, oh, what exciting times. Like, we're finally getting a few steps closer to this thing that we've been talking about for so long. I want to read a quote that the Ethereum Foundation wrote in a post. They said, the merge signals the culmination of 6 years of research and development in Ethereum and will result in a more secure network, predictable block times, and 99.98% reduction in power use when it's released. And so us being so much closer to this Ethereum 2.0 solution, does this, I guess that's the question I want to kick back to you, Christy, and you may not have an answer. Is this like bad news bears for other chains that have been branded as Ethereum killers, that we're so much closer to a few of these solutions that other chains have been trying to sort out?
Well, I don't know. I think Ethereum has a lot of other advantages going for it, like first mover, for example, that are going to be super hard to overcome regardless. I don't also think that the so-called Ethereum killers will benefit from Ethereum failing so much. I think that would be really bad for the whole ecosystem. So the better Ethereum performs, the better the ecosystem performs, the better it is for all, with the rising tide floating all boats. I think that will all be a good thing. I think that there are enough protocols out there that are working with lots of different consensus mechanisms, some proof of stake, some proof of work, some proof of whatever the heck they else want to come up with, that I think that there's room for everybody. And switching to a proof of stake doing this transition, I think, it'll just be good for everyone. Zach, thoughts?
It's going to be exciting to see this finally come to fruition. I think that's like the big thing, this is happening. But Ethereum is kind of getting this long heralded upgrade. And I think, the benefit of taking this slowly and making sure that this works. I think to Christy's point, you're right? There's billions of dollars that are represented in the value of ETH, but also the other stuff that is built on Ethereum. So making sure that's right has taken time, and I think rightly so. But in that time, I think we've seen some resiliency in proof of stake blockchains that previously hadn't been demonstrated yet, right? You have some of these speedy fast chains that are supporting transactions in a much more cheap fashion, and for the most part, they've worked pretty well. So I think that should, give investors additional sort of certainty and confidence that when this merge does occur, things might not go as crazily as one may have expected 3 years ago or whenever this was first expected. So good stuff. All right. Ethereum, we're changing gears. We're sticking in DeFi though, talking about DeFi stuff. We're talking about the continued, this isn't even Web 2 to Web 3, right? You hear about this Web 2 to Web 3 talent migration. This is like someone from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York diving in to Web 3, DeFi specifically, this platform called Euler, which we learned, that's how you say it, Euler, not Euler. Euler. So he's the CEO. He's jumping over from the NY Fed. And it does speak to this continued trend, whether it be from Web 2 tech giants or traditional finance firms or America's central banking system. There's a lot of people who are jumping over to Web 3 in a meaningful capacity. And it's interesting. And I think also, there is maybe some cause for concern if this brain drain if the brain drain of the true believers from the traditional institutions continues at this rate, will there be advocates in these established institutions who can move the needle as it relates to building bridges between these two worlds? So anyway, I just thought this one stood out as an exemplary example of this talent transition that's been taking place in recent months, and was curious for your thoughts. Jen, NY Fed to Euler, what are you thinking?
So I love that this employee learned about flash loans and automated market makers over lunch with a friend. It felt so normal. It felt like, this is how a lot of people learn about DeFi. They talk to one of their friends who they trust in the space. They see that it's not all scams and crime, and then they go on a deep dive. And it was so interesting to hear that someone who's been at the Fed for 10 years went on this journey that I think is really similar to a lot of people. I want to read a quote from the article. So CoinDesk interviewed Neil, and he said, "If we zoom out and look at what finance is supposed to do, it was always meant to be the oil that greases the wheels of real industry. It was never meant to become a wheel unto itself that employs an excessive number of people and becomes rent-seeking." He goes on to say the industry is bloated, not innovative, and it's stuck. And to have someone who spent so long at the Fed, I think, come out and say that just really shines a light on what we've been talking about, right? The traditional financial system isn't really catering to what we need and what we want in this modern era, right? Privacy and financial sovereignty. So it was exciting for me to read this article, and really just I'm excited to watch his journey. And the fact that he says all of his colleagues are skeptical of his move is not surprising. But Christy, I'll pass it off to you.
Well, see, you actually said exactly what I was going to say about the whole lunch thing. And here's hoping he takes some of those friends out to lunch eventually and pulls them over to the dark side as well. Because I think that is where it all happens. It's all very grassrootsy. How many of us have gone down the rabbit hole because of somebody said to us? But I also think that it's a really interesting pairing to have somebody who is at the Fed go into a company like Euler, which focuses so much on risk management. The idea, what he was saying was that it was a super robust risk management system, carefully designed and built and thoughtfully implemented. He's not looking for a a go fast, break things kind of company. He went to a pretty, conservative, let's look at lending and let's make sure we have all these stopgaps and let's make sure that everything is super careful. And I think that makes sense considering where he's coming from. And I think that it also shows a thoughtfulness in, leaving one sector for another. And it seems to be like a good fit that way. Back to you, Zach.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. And I think it sort of speaks to, there's also this growing momentum around sort of institutional DeFi, right? Which is that bridge, I think, between the best of what DeFi can offer and the best of what traditional finance can offer. Another piece of news today was that, Aave launched its V3. Aave notably has Aave Arc, which is its institutional DeFi platform. It's sort of, KYC'd and compliant so that businesses can act in this space in a compliant manner. And I think, whether it's Aave or other projects, there does seem to be this momentum around, okay, obviously we're in an environment where some of these companies, they want the yields that DeFi can make possible, right? We're living in a very sort of yield-free environment in the traditional finance system. Just look at your savings account, right? So these institutions are saying, okay, hey, like if there's a way that we can play in this space, let's do that. And I think you sort of see some momentum around what that will look like in the future as people sort of interact with these protocols in a way that's meaningful and sort of simplified and safe, right? I think we're still in the experimental phase of DeFi where rug pulls and exploits are happening with stunning regularity. Actually, we had a couple the other day. I think it was on, I forget the name of it. I'm not gonna guess. But the fact that this is sort of maturing and growing, and again, maybe getting a little less experimental, maybe a little more boring, maybe a little more institutional grade, will be interesting to see. Because and crypto is like about optionality, right? Maybe you want a hardcore permissionless DeFi system. Maybe you want something that, your bank can participate in. And I think it's interesting to see the different projects looking to build all those options across the DeFi stack. Jen, tossing it to you for final thoughts on this one.
I don't really have final thoughts on this one. I think it's exciting. And just off the back of what you're saying, sometimes boring is good, especially in a space that moves so fast and we get so many insane stories from every nook and cranny of the crypto space. Sometimes boring and taking it slow, one step at a time, is good for the soul.
Yeah, it's not nothing in the dollar sign category too, right? There's $52 million locked on this little protocol as we speak, which is always interesting to watch. All right, DeFi's cool. DeFi's exciting. We'll talk about it again another day. But that's it for the show. That's it for the hash. That's it for the 3 box today. Thanks, Christy. Thanks,
what
Jen.
What a wonderful 3 box we had. Thank you, Zach.
Jen.
Fun times.
Hey,
so we can put our heads together.
All right, let's do it. Mind meld.
We're putting our heads together.
That's right.
Okay,
now you gotta do Christy. Now you gotta do
there
Christy.
It is. Love that. Wow, I feel smarter already. Thank you so much. All right, that's the hash for today. We'll be back tomorrow for the Thursday show. Thanks for sticking with us. I think there's new money on today at 1 p.m. I'm trying to get better at promoting that. Yes, I got
there
it.
There it is.
Woo-hoo.
There it is.
Yes, sir. A bingo. Got it. All right, that's a great show. You should check it out. It's with Spencer Dinwiddie and Solo Cisse. They talk about sort of new money in the creator economy. Good show. Check that out. It's at 1 p.m. All right, that's it. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. We'll be here again tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.